Hello children, it's part 2 of the Japanese folklore videos. This time around I got a list of various folklores not a lot of foreigners are familiar with. Stories that pale in popularity because they're either strange, dark, or teaches children bad life lessons. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's just jump right into it. We'll start off this video with the tales of Urikohime, a story with similar parallels to Momotaro, and then gets disturbing. So long ago, in a village far away, there was this old couple chilling by the riverside when they suddenly found a watermelon drifting on the river. Now this melon was huge, large enough to hold one human baby inside of it. Surprise, surprise, there was one human baby inside the watermelon. If I had a penny, every time somebody old found a baby inside a plant, I'd have at least 3 pennies. Comment if your country has a folktale where a baby is just found in some object. So Princess Watermelon grew up to be the most beautiful woman of all the land. She's good at weaving, singing, dancing. Everyone loved her. It was all good when one day Urikohime's parents had to go run errands in a neighboring town, and while she was gone, not to open a door to anyone. It was all cool, just weaving until they got back, when suddenly she got a knock on the door. Please ma'am, just one glance at your beautiful face. Please ma'am, one glance and I'll be at peace. She was hesitant to open the door, but thought that a finger's length to peek through should be enough to satisfy this fucking loser. She opened the door just a bit when a 4-foot demon grabbed the door, pried it open, killed her, peeled her skin off, and wore it for himself. Now, there are less gory versions of this story that are actually read to children. I'm just telling you the version that I was taught when I was a kid. Now, the demon, wearing her skin, tried to blend in with the family to either marry the prince and play politics, or to eventually just kill more people. But the whole ruse fell apart when Urikohime, now reborn as a bird, revealed the truth about the skinwalker. The demon attempted to run away, but then was beaten to death by the entire fucking village. Moral of the story, don't open the door to strangers, or else they will skin you alive. Next up, I got the story of Isimoshi, a story about treating short people with respect. Mukashi aru tokoro ni. There was a childless old couple who prayed day after day to be blessed with a beautiful, strong child. Good thing it worked, cause they were bestowed a baby just out of thin air. No peach, no cabbage, just bam, there he is. Unfortunately, God forgot to install a chromosome or two, so now he's cursed with the fact that he's only 1 inch in height. That's where he got his name, Isun and Hoshi, 1-inch boy. Coincidentally, that's what they call my. A few years have passed, and one day, Isimoshi wanted to visit the capital, and his parents gave him the green thumb, placing him inside a bowl and gently flowing him down the river using chopsticks as a paddle. That's honestly just about what I remember about this tale, but there is more apparently. So after enduring days of harsh weather, he finally made it to the capital where he found a job working for a rich family. And then the daughter was kidnapped by a demon, so Isimoshi went out to rescue the princess. So he made it to where the demon was hiding, the girl all kidnapped and shit. Isimoshi and the demon were having a great and epic duel when the demon ate Isimoshi, thinking it's all over now. And then he started to stab the demon in the stomach. Why couldn't Ant-Man do that against Thanos? The demon spat him out, surrendered, and happily ever after. That's not it actually. For some reason, the demon dropped a magic hammer, and when the princess swung it, he grew 6 feet taller. Sure, why not? Now here's a fun fact. In another version of the story, it's told that Isimoshi was straight up exiled for being a tiny fucking thing. And during the fight against the demon, he literally stabbed him in the eye with the needle, and when he was swallowed, he exited through the other eye. Moral of the story, short people could still get laid. Like, comment, and subscribe. Alright, next story. Ubasteyama isn't much of a bedtime story, as it is more of an idea of senicide. So, mukashi aru kuni de wa. So in one of the mountains of Nagano, there's this legend where old people who are no longer of use to society are brought up to the top of the mountain to be abandoned. Hence, fuck old people mountain. In one legend, a son was bringing his mother to the summit to be abandoned when he noticed his mother was snapping branches all the way to the top. The son asked, "Why are you snapping branches all the way to the top?" The mother went, "I'm snapping them so that you don't get lost when you descend back down." And that's supposed to be deep and philosophical. Even when in the process of being abandoned, a parent will think about the child's safety. In another story, the ruler of the city dictated that all old people who aren't of use to the city shall be led to the mountain to be abandoned. A son who didn't want to fucking kill his mother just hid her under the floorboard and pretended he dropped her off at the top of the mountain. Days later, the neighboring country presented the town with several impossible riddles. and said that if they didn't solve the riddles by sundown, they would invade and conquer the town. Everyone in the town couldn't answer a single riddle, but when the son introduced his mother with the riddles, she answered all of them with ease. The neighboring country, surprised with the amount of wisdom in the town, called off the invasion, and the ruler, after finding out there was a wisdom bag under the floorboard, changed his mind about the decree, and since then, elderly people were treated with respect. The end. Alright, up next is Shitakiri Suzume. So there was this yet again old couple who made a living wood chopping. The old guy was a kind old man, but the wife was a total bitch. One day, the guy was chopping lumber in the forest when there was a hungry sparrow begging for food. The man felt sorry for the bird, so he took the bird back home to feed it some rice, but the old woman didn't like that because she was greedy and fucking gay. But he fed it anyway, and that was that. The next day, the man returned to the forest to chop some more lumber, so he let his wife take care of the bird while he was gone. The wife just let the bird do whatever because she didn't care for it, and then the bird got into a bag of starch. She got so pissed that she went out of her way to cut the sparrow's tongue with a pair of scissors. The man, upon hearing about this, went back to the forest to search for the sparrow, and with the help of other birds, found where it lived among hundreds of other sparrows. They presented him with one of two gifts, a small mystery box or a large mystery box. The man decided to take the smaller box, not just because it looked lighter, but also he was a kind old man. When he got home, he decided to open it up, and inside there was a mountain of treasure. Upon learning the existence of a larger box, the woman ran to the sparrow's castle to take it for herself, thinking when she gets filthy rich, she was going to divorce, get a new young husband, and start a new life in Zihuatanejo, Mexico. She was at least warned not to open it until she arrived back home, but her greed caused her to open it immediately. She opened the box slowly, when all of a sudden she found a shit ton of scary monsters inside, causing her to tumble down a hill, breaking her neck. The end. Next up, ancient Japanese legend of crab and monkey. Long ago, there was a crab who one day found a rice ball just out in the open. The crab was about to dig in when a sly monkey offered a compelling trade. He said, in exchange for a rice ball, I'll give you this persimmon seed. The crab accepted, and in months following, it bloomed into a tree with an abundance of fruits. The crab wanted to pick the fruits off the tree, but was unable to reach them. That's when the monkey suddenly climbed on, ate all the ripe fruits, hucked an unripe persimmon at the crab, killing her, and then fled. Sad, I know. With her remaining strength, the crab laid 1,000 eggs, and when it all hatched like 10 minutes later, all the babies unanimously agreed to slay the monkey in revengeance. So the baby crabs gathered several allies to help take down the monkey, right? The list goes as follows: a bee, a chestnut, a mortar, and a sentient pile of cow shit. It's hard to believe that drugs are illegal in Japan sometimes. So with their combined brain power, they schemed a clever revenge plan against the monkey. Here's how it went down. The monkey, returning home, would sit by the fireplace to rest. That's when a chestnut would push him into the fire, burning him. He'd then run to the bucket of water to cool off. That's when the bee stings him. Finally, he'd run outside, slip on the sentient pile of cow shit, and then the mortar would crush his heart, causing him to bleed out and die. The end. That's the story how it's read on Wikipedia. When I was told this story by my grandma, she told me the monkey, after all of that, apologized to the crab and they all lived happily ever after. How the f did it devolve into this? Alright, last one for today. Hoichi the Earless. It's like a ghost story, but still counts as a folktale, I think. So long ago, there was a blind biwa player named Hoichi who was really good at performing the tales of Heike, right? One day, there was this samurai who approached him and requested that Hoichi would perform his biwa to the members of the aristocrats. And also, he would not tell anyone of what he's been doing. He didn't really have a choice in the matter, so he accepted. And later that night, the samurai led him to a theater where he'd perform each of the tales. His performance was so good that the audience started to weep, and the Lord asked him to return every night for a whole week, and in exchange, his head would remain above his shoulders or something. He returned home, and his roommates were like, "Yo, where'd you been?" And he was like, "Nothing, I just went for a jog, no biggie," and went to bed. The next night, the samurai escorted him to the theater, but the two roommates followed him to where he was performing. They were following his tracks when they started to hear the sound of the biwa playing at the local cemetery, and when they arrived, they saw Hoichi on the ground playing in front of an audience of ghosts. When they all arrived home, Hoichi caught up to what's been going on and was freaking out, right? The first guy said, "I got an idea," and then proceeded to cover Hoichi with the Heart Sutra. I made a video about that once, but basically what's going on is that the guy theorized that the sutra should make Hoichi invisible to spirits as long as he stayed perfectly still. That night, the samurai arrived, and Hoichi was nowhere to be found, all except for his pairs of ears just casually floating. The guy forgot to write the Heart Sutra on his ears. That's why his ears are visible. My art style does not draw ears. That's why you didn't notice that either. So the samurai, seeing his ears, just tears them away and leaves for a night. Despite the gushing blood and the excruciating pain, Hoichi never reacted. And that's the moral of the story, I think. He survived and became a famous earless musician. The end. Anyways, that's basically it. Thanks for watching. If you want more folktale stories, make sure to write them down in the comments and I'll make a video on them in like a year or something. If you liked the video, make sure to like the video and comment on what other ideas I should talk about. Something that I can make in a week. Thanks for watching. Viva la vida. She makes me so unsure of myself. Standing there but never ever talking sense. Just to visit her, you see, so much wanting to be seen. She'd open up the doors and vaguely carry us away. It's the customary thing to say or do. To a disappointment, proud man in his grief. And on Friday she'd be there, but on Mondays not at all. Just casually appearing from the clock across the hall.